Good afternoon and welcome everyone to this meeting of the Glenorchy Planning Authority for the 8th of December 2025. I would like to start by acknowledging the Muanina people as the traditional owners of this land. We recognise all Tasmanian Aboriginal people as the original owners and continuing custodians of the land and waters of this island, Literature. We pay our respect to Aboriginal elders past and present, and we commit to working for a city that welcomes and respects all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. My name is Sue Hickey and I'm the Mayor of Glenorchy and Chair of this afternoon's Planning Authority meeting. Joining me this afternoon are my fellow Authority members, Alderman Stephen King, Alderman Tim Marks, Alderman Shane Alderton and Alderman Peter Riedler. We also have a number of council staff in attendance this afternoon. Item 1 is Planning Authority Declaration. The Glenorchy Planning Authority intends to act as a planning authority under the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act of 1993. The Planning Authority has full power to make planning decisions on behalf of the Council. Now read the meeting procedures, and they are: the planning officer presents assessment and recommendation and then answers any questions of the elected members. Please note, at this stage, no decision has been made on the application. The chairperson invites the applicant and any interested parties to have their say by addressing the meeting. Speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. The chairperson may ask the planning officer to comment on any matters raised. The planning authority discusses the application. Statutory planning applications, the planning officer decides the application and the senior statutory planner explains appeal rights. The planning scheme amendments, the strategic planner explains the decisions being made by the planning authority and the Tasmanian Planning Commission. We do have legal requirements. When deciding an application, the authority is required by law to seek to further the sustainable development objectives of the Act, consider representations received during the public notification period, and make a decision by reference to the current planning scheme provisions. We do have meeting rules, obviously, and they are simple. Please comply with any directions given by the chairperson, and please respect each other's views and their right to have a say. Item 2 is apologies or leave of absence. The following apologies have been received by the Deputy Mayor, Alderman Russell Yaxley, and Alderman Josh Cockshut. Pecuniary interest. Does anyone have a pecuniary interest in the item being discussed? No? Thank you. Item 4, confirmation of the minutes. Do I have someone to move the minutes of the Glenorchy Planning Authority meeting on the 10th of November? Thank you very much, Alderman Tim Marks. And the seconder, please. Thank you very much. Now, would you like to make any discussion?
Just a true and correct record.
Right, thank you. Any comment from our seconders? Thank you, Alderman King. Okay, there's no discussion required. No? All those in favour? Thank you. Motion is carried. Item 5 is the proposed use and development of Lot 1 Alunga Road, Chigwell, for 6 multiple dwellings. Now I have to invite the relevant planning officer to present the proposal, who finishes with the recommendation. Thank you. Thank you, Sylvia.
The application is for 6 multiple dwellings on a vacant lot. The vacant lot is on the western side of Alunga Road, near the intersection with Claremont Road. It has an area of 2,461 square metres, and it slopes towards Faulkner's River at the rear. The zoning is general residential zone.
Technical difficulties, sorry, it says it's sharing.
It's essentially a picture of the site layout. So the units are in groups of 3 conjoined units with a carport in the middle for 8 car parking spaces, and then followed by another 3 conjoined units. The units are fairly small units. They are 2-bedroom units. They have an enclosure at the front, And they do have a deck with steps going down to the backyard that goes towards the rear boundary. Now, there's a number of discretions involved with that application. The discretions are fairly minor, essentially relating to the setbacks and to the waste storage and natural areas code. There's one significant discretion that relates to the car parking. So normally there would have been 14 car parking spaces required. It's proposed that the units only have 8 car parking spaces, so there'll be a shortfall of 6 car parking spaces. The application was assessed by a planning consultant that the council engaged, and it was found, though it subject to condition, that it can accord with the performance criteria. The relevant condition is condition 12, and it imposed the condition that prior to occupancy that Homes Tasmania ensures that the residents will only have 1 car for those units. The consultant is here if you have any questions afterwards. In terms of the other discretions, they were found to be all fairly minor. They're quite detailed within the report, so I'll be happy to answer any questions in regards to that rather than going through them all at the moment. And overall, the other thing I meant to mention is that we did receive one representation, was concerned about flooding issues. However, the application was referred to the hydrologist and he had a look at it and he said that the lot wasn't affected by any flood risk. Also, it's noted that the buildings will actually be outside the flood-prone overlay, so that the code in regards to flooding would not apply in respect to this particular site. So he was satisfied that that would not be an issue for the unit. So overall, the application was assessed and was found acceptable in terms to satisfying the performance criteria, and I will just answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, so do any of the authority members have any questions? Thank you, Alderman Alderton.
Thank you. I just have a couple of questions in regard, because I lived in that area a number of years ago. The risk of a 1 in 100-year event flood, and actually if water was to spill from Faulkner Creek into the adjoining property, and I know there's no risk to the actual buildings and property, but if there was actual land erosion in the actual boundaries of the property and it went back into the creek, for example, or we eroded the boundary property, who owns the creek and who's liable for that? Can council be liable for any flood-prone damage that comes out of the creek and damages the land that these buildings are on, more so than the buildings?
I don't know. They also will have to go through a process in terms of the building permit application.
Patrick
Through the
might
chair,
have-
I'm happy to speak up there. Yeah, council isn't responsible for any flood damage to private
Right,
property.
okay. That was my only concern, you know, if we had
It's
erosion, yeah.
That's a private property matter.
Right, thank you.
It's not a planning issue.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Any other questions? No?
I think it's well covered in here, Mayor.
Thank you. So now I'd like to acknowledge members of the gallery, noting the attendance of representatives and applicants in attendance, and invite them to address the meeting. And I believe that we have Eddie Steenbergen with us. Would you like to come to the table?
I was addressing the meeting and asking a question.
Are you asking a question? Yes, that's fine.
It's actually quite good to see a development on that land. After I saw it getting a house and supply water in 2022, I thought sometime soon something will be built.
Very good.
So I know the area quite well, and my question is about units 5 and 6, which I suspect, I mean the actual report mentions that the courtyards for 5 and 6 are actually below street level, or at least partially below street level. And what I wonder is whether consideration has been given to whether people the residents' activities in those courtyards being potentially visible to anyone walking past on footpath, on Link Road. Because I wonder, I mean, if you have zero privacy, that's a bit of a drawback.
So yes, there's courtyards at the front of the properties which provide, essentially it's a courtyard because of the nature of the construction, but it's no different from any front yard of any other dwelling. They do have private open space to the rear as well. So it would be anticipated that the residents have opportunity, if they wish to do something that's less exposed to the public eye, they can recreate in their rear gardens rather than in the front courtyards. So it has had consideration given to it. It is a discretion under the application, and it's considered that there is sufficient appropriate space to the rear of the dwellings for people to have privacy retained from the street.
So just to be clear, when you talk about the rear, you're talking about the side that faces the rivulet
Yes.
down there.
Yes.
Quite small, isn't it? Is there?
I think
Anyway, that's
it's
just
commensurate to
observation.
the size of the dwelling is the thought process.
But be that as it may, is it a fact that people simply walking past on footpaths or courtyard can see into it?
I guess what I'm saying is that that's no different than any other dwelling on the street front. So most dwellings that have a front yard, you can walk past and see straight into the front yard. So it's up to the residents how they utilise the space to the front or to the rear of their properties. There's nothing that prevents them planting trees. There's nothing that prevents them putting screens in. There will be ways that the land can be suitably screened if people feel that they want to have privacy in that space.
So you're saying it's a responsibility of the tenants
Yes,
to do what's necessary for their own privacy.
yes, because different people will have different levels. It's not something that's adequately covered under the planning scheme. So
Residential amenity, surely.
there is the tests of private open space within the planning scheme are actually met by this. So the intent of the private open space within the planning scheme is not, it doesn't actually reference expressly that it has to be private and screened on all sides. It refers to having sufficient area to recreate outdoors on your own property. So the privacy in the planning scheme is more of a sole use privacy. So you've got exclusive use rights to that portion of the site rather than privacy as in nobody can see into it. So most front yards have the same level of privacy and amenity that these ones will receive.
Okay. I'd just like to make the observation that tenants there, I suspect, aren't likely to be long-term tenants. There's really no incentive for them to plant or develop or do anything to improve their situation. That's just an observation I'd like to make. I'm done for now.
Thank you very much. Okay, now, is there someone who'd like to move this motion? Thank you, Alderman Marks. There's no one else who wanted to ask questions?
I just want to point something out, Mayor, if that's okay. So whether this is a typo or something missing from the document, it mentions on a weekly basis that 6 recycling bins will go out for collection and 6 FOGO bins. There's no mention of the waste, general waste bins when they're going out. I just point that out.
They're going in the bin
That's on
enclosure.
page 29.
Sorry, the waste bin's going in the bin enclosure. There's a bin enclosure
Yeah.
on either side of the carport that's sort of within the front and back.
But they're going out on the street for collection every alternative week, aren't they? There's no mention of that here, isn't there?
That will have to go, that will
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to be taken out onto
Yeah,
the
but if
street.
I can read what it says here, there's 18 bins retained on the property. 6 recycling bins will go out for collection in week 1 and 6 FOGO bins will go out for collection the following week. There's no mention of the general waste bins going out for collection at all.
Well, it's no different to anybody else who has got waste bins. They will have to be put out on
Yeah,
the.
no, I realise that. It's just missing from the document, that's all.
Oh, okay, maybe I should mention that.
Thank you. So back to the mover, is, Alderman Tim Marks, the seconder, please. Thank you, Alderman King. Alderman Marks.
I just wanted to say on the side of the fencing situation, for Eddie's point of view, there is actually fencing that's going to be around each unit so that people from the street won't be able to see into the backyards. It's in the plans.
Thank you.
That was the motion, or was that your?
No, it's very funny.
Yep, I mean, that's what you want to say?
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything?
No, look, it's progress, it's time that it happened and let's move forward. Thank you to our planning staff, regardless of a little line that might be missed out about rubbish bins, but we'll worry about that later.
I have a question, and I don't know whether I've missed it in the reading of this, but was there anything here about them being short-term tenants?
Sorry,
They're not short-term tenants.
we don't know.
That wouldn't be a
But
planning
from
issue.
Homestead money, they will organise.
The tenancy, yes, but there's nothing to suggest that they're,
No, there's
Short
nothing in the
term.
application to suggest that it's crisis accommodation or
yeah.
short-term tenancy or anything of that nature.
so
So we
they
can
could
only
be people's
assume.
permanent home for as long as they live. Yeah, okay. All right. I don't actually have a problem with the condition around the car because I do think we have to change our thinking a lot about car ownership, and also we have to be more efficient in providing homes and the density rules and things like that. So we've got to look to the future, and I'm quite impressed with the plan. We've got to try and think differently as the future goes forward because we haven't been doing such a good job in the past. Not we as a council, but we as a collective in Tasmania and around Australia for that matter. Okay, the other alderman, do you want to say anything?
No, I think it's pretty well been summed
No
up.
comment, no comment.
No,
Everyone
it's been
finished?
covered.
Okay, so Alderman Marks, would you like to sum up?
Just that I think it's going to be a very good development for that area, and the car parking problem shouldn't be an issue because the parking lot's going in across the road just a bit. So we have plenty of access to buses and.
Thank you. Okay, so then we'll put that recommendation to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously, thank you. And I'll invite the Senior Statutory Planner to explain the process from him.
Okay, so the planning authority has resolved to grant a permit for the proposed use and development of this land. Because we've received a representation, both the applicant and the representor will have a right of appeal for this decision. So they can appeal this decision to the Planning Appeals Tribunal within the next 14 days, should they wish to do so. After that, they'll be able to progress.
Thank you. I think that's a pretty good outcome. I'd like to thank my colleagues for using it on asking the appropriate questions, and also to Eddie as well. Thank you. So thank you very much for your viewing time, and I hope to see you at the next general planning meeting.